This is Together, an Ada Bible Church podcast about the world of marriage, where we attempt to invite you to explore the ways marriage works and doesn't work. From practical ways of learning to biblical inspiration, we invite you to listen to other professionals and couples to help enrich your marriage. Here are your hosts, Samuel Jones and Dr. Kelly Bonnewell.
Samuel, it's good to see you.
Hey, good to see you too, Kelly.
Yeah. So I want to share something with you. I was thinking about this past week. Does July 27 ring a bell to you?
Possibly.
Yeah. Does it ring a bell to you?
It does, actually.
Yeah. What is July 27th?
July 27th. Is that your birthday? Or
yeah, it's
like
my birthday. Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking about this. July 27 of 2022 might have been my best day in 2022. And it's for two reasons. Number one, you put together a golf outing for me for my birthday. Mm-hmm. And we had 8 people there.
Yeah, we did.
And one of the other cool things about it, this isn't the second part, but I golfed well.
You did golf well, I remember that.
And I only golfed twice, which is astonishing to me. I only golfed twice last year, and 2 days later, I went and golfed, and I golfed really bad. That's what golf does. It humbles you. But we have a friend. There's a second reason why that day, and this reason really kind of hits the spot with me. And we have a friend, and she was there, and her name is Diane Schroeder. Mm-hmm. And we get to interview Dan and Diane today on the podcast.
Awesome.
And I'll tell you why that was a really special day. And it also reminded me of how special Diane is. So after we golfed, you had left. Mm-hmm. And there was 6 of us. And we went into the clubhouse and we had some snacks and a beverage, and we were there for about 10, 15 minutes. And then Diane just chimes in and she looks at the table and she says, "Hey guys, I want you guys to share how you've been impacted by Kelly." And number one, I do not like to be in the spotlight. And initially I'm like, "Oh, Diane, I wish you wouldn't have done that." But after all was said and done, it was one of the big reasons why I was so blessed, because everybody just went around the table and blessed me. Even to that point, it hit me the other day that one of the things that we've changed about the podcast is one of the things we want our couples to do at the end is we want our couples to bless one another.
Yeah.
And that idea that I had came from Diane.
Wow.
Because that was such a blessing to me that day. And so Diane, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah.
Wow, I wasn't expecting that.
I know. That was a good story.
I'm a little teary-eyed already.
I know. I did that on purpose, Diane.
Thanks, Kelly.
So let's ease into this. So how long you guys been married?
We've been married 31 years this October. Had our big 30 last year, and got 2 kids. Oddly enough, their names are Samuel and Kelly. So,
wow.
So it kind of feels like a family meeting here.
Isn't that awesome?
Dan, are you serious?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Our daughter's name is Kelly, and our son's name is Samuel.
Now, I do have one question for you.
That's amazing.
Why did you give Kelly a boy's name?
Right? And you guys spell it the same, too. Kelly.
Wow.
Yeah, 31 years. Met in Tampa, Florida. That's another story I'm assuming we'll have time for, but
yeah, definitely. So let's get to know you a little bit. Diane, tell our listeners. So first off, Diane has already been on our podcast. Mm-hmm. So listeners, you got to go back to season 1.
Season 1. Wow.
And that was when
during
lockdown, and we were recording remotely.
Yes.
And I went and briefly listened to it this morning, and it reminded me of how those episodes didn't sound super great. But Diane talked about affairs and trying to get through affairs within a marriage context. Because Diane, what do you do for a living?
I'm a licensed professional counselor in private practice here in Grand Rapids. Yay.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And we didn't talk about affairs because Dan and I,
I wanted that disclaimer in there.
That's not our story. But
my eyes went, whoa, wait a minute.
Are you alluding to something here? Wait a minute.
But, just working with couples and helping them through that.
Mm-hmm.
And Dan, what do you do?
I am a director of sales for a medical equipment company here in town. I've been with the same group for 28 years. We've been different iterations of the company, but we're based in Marne and love my job.
That's awesome.
Awesome. All right. So maybe even tell us a little bit more. So you all have been attending and serving at Ada Bible Church as well, right?
Right.
Maybe tell us a little bit about like some of the areas that you serve in and some of the things that kind of God is doing with your heart in that area.
Sure. Well, we moved here from Florida in 2003 with our little kids, 4 and 6-year-old kids. So we were looking for a church, and we were, it was recommended that we check out Ada Bible Church, and we've been here ever since. We've been members for almost 20 years.
Wow.
And our kids grew up in Discovery Village and Lifeline, and that was just a great experience for them. And then we've done so many different things.
Early on, we kind of, Diane and I were talking about this. We had a hard time moving from Florida to Michigan.
Why? I don't understand why.
Most people do it the opposite way, but and end up in Florida. But no, we it was just a difficult move to change as much as we did, and so we came here. We had attended a small church, about 300 people. We helped start the church. We have great friends down there, so leaving that was hard, and then to come here and see how big Ada was, kind of. Shocked us in a way. So first few years, we just hid in the pews and were served by Ada. And then as time went on and our kids, we became empty nesters, we decided we want to give back and start serving more. So we've done some of the things, the marriage mentorship and the classes and what else? Yeah. Serving coffee now.
I mean, I just love what you said there, and I want to circle back to how the size of Ada Bible Church was really a blessing for us because of how big it was. We were used to being known. If we missed church before in our church home in Florida, everyone would ask, "Where were you? What happened?"
Okay?
Exactly. We'd get phone calls. And so even though it was strange and wonderful to come here, we were able to grieve in the pew and to allow God to work in our hearts and give us the strength to kind of carry that burden and to work through that burden of moving and leaving all of our friends and our church behind. So the beauty of the size of the church really did serve what we needed at that time. And then how program rich the church was for everything we needed, small groups, Bible studies, children's programs, mission trips. So we were able to kind of select from the buffet of choices. And that's always just been a fabulous plus for us here at the church. And so throughout our marriage and our season here, we've done all sorts of things. Discovery Village at one point, we were wrangling 2-year-olds together with our kids when our kids were in middle school. And we were... You've helped with men's ministry here, Dan, and I've served in women's ministry. And then we kind of moved over to marriage mentoring and marriage classes. And then now we're kind of reinventing what that looks like post-COVID. Yeah. And we're serving on the coffee team. And that's fun. So we're doing hospitality. And then we still have our toe in the water of the marriage ministry and mentoring.
We have some of our, we've mentored one-on-one with a few of the couples and individually with the wives and husbands. So that's been a good continuation of what we did with the classes.
That's awesome.
And then we were talking about how we've benefited from that personally, like getting into the material, learning the material, applying,
we had to stop and step back and go, wait, we don't know how to communicate and we're supposed to teach this on Sunday. We better figure this out. So it was good a good session of really understanding each other more again.
Yeah.
And then, we've received mentoring before. And so we've really felt led to give back because we have 2 couples in our early marriage that really helped us along. So we just really believe in all of that.
Listen, and speaking of early marriage, that's a great transition to like the beginning of all this for you two. Like maybe let's tell our listeners a little bit about how you kind of met and fell in love a little bit. What's the story around Diane and Dan from Tampa?
True story.
Okay, well, there's, we met on April 21st, 1991. We both really celebrate that day almost more than our wedding anniversary, just because it was such a cool experience and really meaningful. But we were older. So late 20s, early 30s.
29 and 30.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And and we were professionals working, had quite we had dating history, right? Like we had been through a fair amount of, ups and downs with bad experiences and some good ones in there. But, we were both really kind of sick of dating when we met. And we were both in the same mindset of, all right, that's it. We're just not going to do this. We're done. So we were both kind of taking a break from dating. And then it was spring break week, and we were both living in Tampa, Florida at the time. And my sisters came down for spring break, and then his buddies came down for spring break.
I had three buddies, and you had 2 sisters and a friend.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And so we had been all over the place at the beach, boating. I had a boat at the time, and we had been to every event, the Jose Cuervo volleyball tournament on Clearwater Beach, and just, all the things that you do. And my sisters are younger than me, and so they had all this energy, and I was just wiped out.
So it was a Sunday night. It was the last night. Everybody was fried.
Sure.
But all the guests wanted to go out, so I had no idea. And I thought, oh, there's a reggae night on Sunday, and Diane is on the other side of the bay thinking the same thing.
Where am I going to take these girls? I'm so tired. Okay, they're all leaving tomorrow. I can't wait for them to leave, but they all want to go out. I go, okay, I'll go out. I didn't put on any makeup. I didn't do my hair. I'm like, that's it. We had just gone boating. I got off the boat and we all went out. So we went to this reggae joint. And, back in the 90s, there was no internet. And you had like...
That was our social media.
Yeah, exactly. There was no social media, and we did have personal ads. If you remember those, then you are in our age group and we love you. But, I was always too afraid to do that. So similar to like an app, if you swipe, what is it? You swipe right, and that's somebody you like, and you swipe left. So the girls and I were at the hangout spot, and in walks Dan and his buddies. And now you can't see Dan, but he's handsome, 6'4", and Tim is 6'7". Paul's 6'4". Chris is 6'2". Like all these guys walk in, and I noticed him right away because I'm tall. And I nudge my sisters. I go, look at those guys, check them out. They're all really cute. And Dan and I met eyes from across the room.
She walked by, and I went, oh, I need to know her.
Yeah, so he stopped me and said hello and offered to buy me a drink. And that was how we started.
and then all the whole gang got together.
Yeah,
we
the
had
2
just
groups,
a blast
we had so much fun.
all night.
Wow.
And then we took them to the airport in the mornings, and we were the only ones standing. And looking at each other, well, that was fun. Let's do it.
Oh, that's interesting.
And
we were the only ones who lived there.
But we were reluctantly we weren't dating. We kept saying we're not dating.
We did the whole we're not going to make it official thing.
So we
just
would
like
play tennis.
people do
We
now.
would
we're just going to be friends.
But we didn't really want to commit. And the more we did that and just became friends, the more we fell in love.
But there was instant chemistry.
Yeah,
like we were
sure.
so like,
For sure.
we were gun shy, but we were like, oh gosh, this is really kind of it. Yeah.
Wow. So
How long did it take you to get to the what are we question?
Right.
Not long. Couple months.
Yeah, it was pretty quick.
I think I was ready.
We saw each other every day. we just lived like a couple miles apart.
Mm-hmm.
You came back the next day after the night we met, and you said, we only live 3.2 miles apart. I thought that was so cute.
Wow. So for you all, okay, so there's this basically dating casually that you're connecting, seeing each other. Dan's like, this is it, you know. What did that moment of deeper commitment or connection look like for you two? What was that spark or that thing that said, okay, we're taking this to a next level?
Well, it kind of centered around, as we got to know each other, we really shared a lot of deep thoughts and goals and dreams and everything. And part of that was our faith. And I didn't really I went to church as a kid, and I kind of drifted after high school and really hadn't gone back to church. So I was curious, and Diane, when I met her, was going to church on a regular basis. So and you invited me. So she invited me, and I said, sure. Nobody else has in the last 20 years. So I went to her church, and we started really talking about, where we are with our faith. And I really asked her a lot of questions. I really wanted to learn from her. So you want to
we were super compatible. We had the same values. We were very attracted to each other. There was a lot of chemistry, a lot of sparks were flying, and we started talking about longer term. What does this look like? Do we want to spend, do we want to, go the distance here? And we both wanted kids. We both wanted to achieve and be productive. And we had good relationships with our families. Family was really important. So we had a lot in common, a lot of shared values, a lot of shared goals, but we were not unified with faith. So when you started asking like, hey, do you want to get married someday or someday soon? I said, no. I said, no, I don't think so, because I don't want to get married and not be together on this.
So this was that bump in the road moment for you two.
Right.
For sure.
Right.
For sure.
And we really were like, okay, we can still date.
Yeah. Like we were not,
it wasn't a deal breaker.
It wasn't like we were going to break up.
It was just, Diane, made it clear that she wanted to be aligned in faith. And I really still didn't really know what that meant. So,
and you weren't going to just make a decision to do that because I wanted you to, which I respected.
That's what I told her. I said, well, I'm not just going to do that just because it'll get us closer to marriage. So I just wanted it to, I didn't know how that worked. I just wanted to do it on my own terms, I guess.
And I was okay with that. Like, so we were kind of in a holding pattern. I'm not going to put any pressure on you, Dan. I'm okay with you doubting and searching, and I trust God. I knew he had a plan and it was going to work out. But I was willing to put the brakes on it, and primarily because I had seen other couples who didn't hold out for that, and then their marriage would be in conflict, or I've seen women make the mistake of, oh, well, he'll change, or even guys who have said, oh, she'll change. But I was willing to wait, until you got there or not, and it would be a turning point if you didn't, and it would be, let's get married if you did.
And Dan, what was that turning point for you?
So for me, it was an interesting story. So we had a group of friends that we hung out with, and one of them, her name was Dee, and she is just a great girl. And we, one night, found out she just passed away. She had a congenital heart issue and died. She was 25 years old. And so we went to the funeral, and I didn't realize how much of a strong Christian she was. And I really didn't understand that about her. And I went to this funeral, and it was like something I'd never seen. People were, of course, grieving, but they were also so confident in knowing where she was. And I just heard testimony of her, of Dee, and how she touched people's lives, and how just that confidence of everybody knows where she's going and they know where they're going. And so after that, I came home and asked Diane a lot of questions, and I realized I don't know where I'm going. So I accepted Christ through her at that time. So
Very cool.
And it was super weird too, because I've never been like, okay, let's pray and let's do the, whole
the sinner's prayer.
That's it. Yes. And I'd never done that before. And that night we were both just so touched by her her death, and Dan was so vulnerable. And I just said, well, if you want to pray with me, you can accept Christ right now, and, then you'll know where you're going. So really, it wasn't about us getting married. It was about Dan making a commitment and a true turning over of his life, and so that he would know where he would spend eternity. Because I said, well, I know where I'm going, and I'm going to be with her. Mm-hmm. So, if you want to come with me. And he said, okay. And so we knelt down in my apartment, and we're both bawling our eyes out, and we said this little prayer together. And I think we got engaged about a month later.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So you're both telling me then that for all of our listeners, meeting on spring break can lead to salvation
yes.
and love and marriage. This is amazing.
A lot of fun.
It's the non-traditional path.
That's awesome.
God knows what he's doing.
Doesn't have to be a straight line.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Doesn't have to be a straight line.
Right.
I like that.
Yeah.
So, you have a beautiful story of how you met, and you've got 31 years behind you, and but marriage is challenging, right? It's not.
It's a piece of cake.
It's not a straight line.
It's not. Yeah.
One of the things we always hit on is there's challenges in marriage. So, what was a challenge or two that you guys had to navigate in your marriage?
All right, I'll pick one.
Okay.
Probably early on, we decided that Diane was going to stay home at that time with Kelly, our daughter. She had a career. She was doing great. And, we went from dual income to single. And we decided that stay-at-home mom is the way to go for this. So that was challenging. We had to change everything we did financially and really get strict with the income and the budgeting and all those things. And
well, because we didn't plan ahead really for me quitting. The plan was I was always going to stay in the corporate environment, and we were going to get a nanny. And that just really shifted for us. And we had women in our church that were career women who were educated and professional, who were taking breaks from work so they could raise their kids. So we had really good role models at the time. So we were just kind of spinning, going, okay, I guess we can do that. Yeah, so we didn't do the whole Dave Ramsey save, one income and you can live on one, or no, we just kind of all of a sudden decided. So we had to get tough. Real. It was hard.
Because we were used to traveling and just leaving. Spending. So, but it was a good foundation for the rest of our marriage that we got into that discipline at that time and learned how to make it work. And, the theme through our marriage, I think, is when we've run across those situations, if we really get together as a team and really focus on it, we seem to get through those tough times. And that's come up countless times.
Love that. Diane, do you have another one?
Well, I'll just add to, the financial thing. I was really used to having as much money as I ever wanted. And then all of a sudden I became kind of beholden to Dan, and he kind of became the financial wizard of our relationship. And we would sit down every week and go over it. And those conversations, those meetings were never fun. I mean, we would always, it was filled with tension, and we were just hack away at, how do we change our lives so that you can be home? And, I was very stubborn at the time, and Dan just was very steady, and we prayed about it every time. We'd lay out the budget on the kitchen table and go, okay, God, help us with spending.
Neither one of us wanted to sit there and do that.
But we did it. And, you have so many stories, Dan, where God just went boink and provided money.
During that time too, I quit my job and started a business in full commission. I was a manufacturer's rep. So there were times where I didn't tell Diane we were down to $500, but then I would get a commission check or big sale, or, some opportunity would pop up. That happened multiple times when I thought we were on the edge.
And then I had a girlfriend who her kids were like a year older than our kids, and she would drop off bags of brand new clothes with the tags on them. And wow, just amazing, how much. And then that kind of helped me relax, like, okay, we're going to be okay. We're going to make it through this. And over the years, we still meet pretty regularly about money.
We still do that. We still do that after 30 years. We are still trying to figure out how to
manage money.
Good for you.
Yeah.
And the budget became kind of a third person, or actually a fourth person, because it's God, you, me, and the budget. So, we'd always say, well, ask the budget. And then we even taught our kids, like, oh, we got to check the budget.
Yeah.
The budget is a family member. So
that's great.
What does the budget have to say about this?
That's
and
wise.
So we would always try to live beneath our means. And wow, that has been, and it hasn't always been easy, right? It's been there have been ups and downs with all of that, but it's been a really good discipline.
So Diane, what's that other challenge?
Well, yeah, we thought about this one a lot before coming in, whether to share this or not. But so a big period of time for our marriage that probably was one of the worst times is when I was going through a season of depression. And it's even hard to talk about. But the weird thing is that I really was kind of the accidental stay-at-home mom. And it took me probably 5 years to adjust to being in that role. And so then we moved here and we started over. And then the kids went into elementary school full-time, gone all day. Dan was traveling quite a bit at that time, and I was really isolated. So I didn't really know what to do with myself, and I began kind of retreating and pulling back from church, and I stopped going to Bible study, and I stopped volunteering at the school, and I just became small. Like my kids and my husband's world began to get bigger and bigger, and my world began just shrinking.
Yeah.
And so
you kind of lost your identity.
I did.
In a way, right?
Yeah. I never really wanted to be an at-home mom, and I kind of did it reluctantly. And so I really struggled with that role. But I think it was a good, we don't regret the decision, but it was a big challenge. And so then I was thinking, okay, now what do I do with myself? And I didn't have a purpose. I didn't have an identity outside of you guys, the kids and my husband. So I slipped into pretty deep depression of days on end on the couch. And I didn't tell anyone what was happening.
And I didn't really know. I knew
and I
she
hid it
wasn't
from
any
you.
fun.
I hid it from you.
She was not fun to be around for a while. So, and I traveled a lot.
I was irritated and frustrated. So my depressive symptomology expressed itself in kind of anger and frustration and irritability. And I didn't know what was happening to me. Like I didn't know what was wrong. And then I finally admitted it to you, and you didn't accept it very well. You didn't know what to do with me. And I was expecting you to fix me. Like, here, I finally confessed. I finally told you how bad it is and how worried I am. And you didn't have the skill set and the understanding. And I
wasn't familiar with any of that. Excuse me.
Yeah. And I had a very high expectation of him. I thought, well, he's supposed to fix me. And so that went on longer than it should have. And that story, that part of my story is one of the reasons I became a counselor, because of the help I received and how important it was for my recovery. And so part of that recovery was counseling. So I did go to therapy. I started reading books. I also let my husband off the hook. I realized that he can't fix me. And that was pretty much a divine intervention. And do you want to tell him why, what you did? Remember?
No, what did I do? Oh, I prayed about it. Yeah, I didn't know what to do. So all I could do was pray about it. And I didn't know what she was going through. So I'm a non-confronter. So as we talked about we'll talk about personality changes or differences. I don't confront, and Diane's from a family that confronts. So
you retreated.
I retreated,
yeah.
And she's taught me not to do that these days. But at that time, I don't know what's wrong, and I don't know how to fix it. So the only thing I knew how to do is pray about it.
Mm-hmm. And you didn't tell me. So we talked about this also recently. You didn't share with me that you were praying for me. No, so it wasn't like patronizing. Oh, I'm praying for you, honey. No, you took to your knees and you really asked God for help and to help me in particular. I
don't think I'd realized how serious it was.
Mm-hmm. So at that time, I was trying to figure it out, and I have some of the most spiritual experiences I've ever had, where God really met me.
Wow. Diane, Dan, this is maybe one of the most intimate and vulnerable that a couple has been on the podcast. But this is why we do it, because there's somebody listening out there who was in your situation, Diane, or in your situation, Dan, in terms of not knowing what to do. And this is why we share these stories, because sharing our stories can be so powerful, because you realize, oh, this has happened to somebody else and I'm not the only one. Because that's kind of what the enemy wants to do in our lives. You're the only one. Mm-hmm. And, but you have a cool story of how you got through that.
Yeah, for sure. So. And I mean, I did feel like I was the only one, or that no one else was going through this, or no one else understood me. But, I do believe God answered Dan's prayers, and I heard from the Lord.
Going to school, right?
And I started figuring it out. All right, I need to find female friends who can handle the stuff. Mm-hmm. And I need a therapist. So I got a therapist, and then I had to figure out my purpose. And so I heard an ad on the radio, driving around on 91.3 WCSG. Shout out to Cornerstone. And I thought, oh, I can go to college. I can go to classes. And so I started taking night classes.
Because you had never finished your bachelor's.
Yeah, I always wanted to complete my bachelor's. I thought, okay, well, that's something I can do.
And at this point, how old are you?
Oh, 46.
See, this is what I love about your story.
You're never 40s, too old, baby.
You were 46 years old at that point.
How old were the kids? The
kids were in elementary school. So like... It
was all through high school.
4th grade and 6th grade.
Wow.
While they were too.
Yeah. So I started taking one class at a time, just to get my brain working again, and just to, with the goal of, I just want to get my degree. I don't know why. I'm just going to do it. And then my professors were licensed counselors and teaching psychology classes. And the first psychology class I stepped into, I thought, this is it. I love this stuff. Then I was also kind of on a, listening tour, seeking tour, and Kelly Bonniwell over here, I looked him up on the Ada Bible website, and I saw, oh, he's a licensed counselor and a PhD psychologist, and he works for the church. What the heck's up with this guy? So I emailed you, and the tagline was, can I pick your brain? And so I came and met with you, and you really coached me, and you said, you need to get your master's degree. And I went, oh, okay. So I left that meeting thinking, oh no, I have to keep going. I have to go to school for 3-4 more years. Oh my gosh. So all told, my education took 9 years. And so
I will never forget that meeting. I will never forget that meeting.
Yeah.
Meeting.
It was pretty cool. Yeah.
And we ran into each other a couple times.
Yeah. And Samuel and you and I were in some classes together at seminary. Yep. So, we didn't go, Samuel, you and I didn't just go to get a master's. We went to seminary and got our master's. So we did an extra 36 credits in biblical studies. We didn't just do the counseling. We went 72 hours. But, so that was a great journey. And through that, I knew I wanted to start a private practice. And 7 years ago, I opened my practice.
Yeah.
And here we are.
You're doing amazing and doing amazing work. And
thank you.
and again and again and again. Thank you for sharing that story. But now you're empty nesters.
Yeah.
Just like me and Julie.
Living the dream.
What did you do to rediscover that passion for your marriage? Because again, there's a lot of empty nesters out there who are kind of going, okay, where do we go from here?
Right. Yeah. Well, I think we were intentional early on. I think with looking ahead was important too. The kids are going to be gone, and we are going to be standing here looking at each other. We better like each other. We better, have fun. We've always had fun. We just were looking for just stay connected. I think we took up golf, as you spoke about earlier, and that's my favorite thing to do with Diane is golf.
Mm-hmm. We love
Unfortunately, there's only 3 months out of the year we can do that, but we like just keep dating, make time for each other. We go grab dinner and go
travel
concerts.
Together.
We've been traveling more. We're going to Nashville tomorrow, or I'm going, and Diane's joining me at the end of the week. So more travel, just really be intentional.
Yeah, we did that even when the kids were around, right? We thought, okay, we could pour everything we have into the kids, or we can also stay connected. So, yeah.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
You referenced it, Dan, personality differences. You guys are very different.
We're complete opposites.
Even just sitting with you guys, you're very different. And again, Samuel and I have done a couple podcasts in the back where we talk about, personality differences in marriage are a good thing.
Right.
Whenever I'm doing premarital counseling, I want to see couples who are different. And you guys are definitely that. So how have you navigated that, and how are you different? And
wow.
Yeah, we've taken all the tests. They all come back the same.
Yeah,
we're on complete opposite.
Complete
I'm
polar
an introvert.
opposite.
She's an extrovert. She's a confronter. I'm not a confronter. But
I'm very social. I want to go do things, meet people.
Yeah, she needs
explore.
to be. She's like a racehorse at the gate, ready to go. And if I'm around people too long, it exhausts me, and I have to regroup.
Yeah.
So, but we make it work. I think one area we're talking about confronting is, we talked a little bit before where if we would get in an argument, my natural bent would be to just leave, go to the basement or the garage, or go golf or clean the yard or something. And Diane, she came from a large family that had to fight for themselves. So I came from a small family, and we were pretty quiet, so we didn't have confrontation. So I finally realized with her urging that it doesn't go away if you walk away. So, we've worked out things where if we're into an argument or a discussion, it's just much better to hit it head on and work it through with each other. So that's one way I've kind of changed from my natural bent to.
Yeah, I mean, there's just been a lot of give and take over the years. You traveled quite a bit in the beginning, and so you'd come in from the road,
right?
And I would be ready to you could see like the scratch marks on the wall. Like, I've been climbing the walls while you've been gone with these two little kids, right? And like, here, take me out. Let's go out for dinner.
And I've been out 3 nights in a row.
And he's had, meals in restaurants every night. And I've been trying to feed the kids and keep it going at home. And I just need to go out. And so we have signals there. Like, we'll check in with each other. And I understand Dan sometimes can't do that. And he's fine. Like, we're both very independent. So he's okay with me going out. So, okay, you can just go out. And in the beginning, that there were conflicts with that.
Yeah.
And yet we met each other there, right? Like the teamwork dynamic. And I think we just do check-ins, just, all right, are you up for it Friday night or not? And we used to have jokes.
You don't volunteer me anymore.
No, and Dan put his foot down early on. I cannot make a commitment without checking in first, and that's okay. It doesn't mean he doesn't like me or doesn't want to spend time with me.
Did she ask you if I would do this?
Yeah. So even this podcast is something that I couldn't wait to do. And Dan had, we had to talk about it first. And
I like it. It's fine.
Yeah.
So kind of seeing, that you do value each other in your differences. Are there any other like major tips or things that you would share with our listeners that you would say, hey, these are some other things you should kind of watch out for in regards to your personalities and engaging each other?
For sure. You want to start with that, Dan?
Well, I think you get into situations where you put, not that it's bad, put the kids first, but as you grow, you have to realize that you were here first, the two of you, and you need to maintain that.
So good.
And have a healthy boundary there, or a way to just stay connected. That's one of them.
Yeah, you just want to build in kind of a natural rhythm. So once a month at least. And I mean, when the kids were little, we went on date night every week, even if we were in conflict. So sometimes just go to a movie and hold each other's hand, or don't even talk, just go out, get out of the house. Parenting's hard. I mean, that was a stressful time for us.
Remember to make, the little things, make things special now and then. And flowers, Diane loves flowers.
I love flowers. And you're so good at giving me flowers. But I think, if we're not intentional about staying connected, then you're going to end up disconnected. So what does that look like? And every couple is different, but for us, we just really enjoy talking to each other, and connecting and checking in.
We even now do this. When the kids were little, we had read it in a book somewhere it's called couch time. So it was, and the kids knew when mom and dad are on the couch at the end of the day that we're having couch time, and they wouldn't interrupt us. We got them to learn that. And that was when our little time to connect. So even now we say, when we feel when it's lacking or it's time for couch time, let's just sit down and catch up. So, because it's easy to just keep going and pass each other and
get busy.
And pretty soon you're disconnected.
And staying curious, right? Just open and curious about your partner, your partner's inner world, what makes them tick, what, get creative, because it's easy to be kind of stuck in a rut and a habit of, we come home, we have dinner, we watch Netflix, and we go to bed. That's kind of rinse, wash, repeat, right? And we can get lazy and kind of stuck. So asking questions like, what was the most exciting experience for you this week? And what's the most challenging thing for you right now? Like, what's it like to be you? What are you going through? And really listen, to your partner and understand them, because through the lifespan, we've learned that we change. We're not the same. We like to think we're the same person we were on April 21st, 1991. But there's wrinkles, and there's health issues, and there's, aging parents, and raising adults, parenting adults is a whole different game. And, we're not the same as we were, and we change. So what are you doing to be a student of your spouse?
So good.
How are you connecting, and how are you remaining curious?
I love your story. And to kind of wind things down, one of the things that we can do, I think, I know I do it, we can take our spouse for granted. And we don't see them in 3D. We see them in 2D. And we like to end our podcast, as I mentioned earlier, of just giving you guys a time to kind of bless one another. So like, what is a couple things that and Dan, why don't you go first? What's some things you love about Diane, and tell her?
All right.
Aww.
Well, we did talk about this a little bit, and you actually hit on it, Kelly, in your intro, that I've always said, as an introvert, Diane brings out the best in me. So she gets me to do things I normally wouldn't do. Like you use that story of her asking that question. There's so many times where, and I'll use the podcast as an example. Like, where she'll go, we're going to do this podcast. And then I didn't say this out loud, but my first thought was, I'm not doing that.
Sucker.
But no, she's a great salesperson. So she's sold me on a lot of things that I'm glad I bought. But yeah, she gets me to do things. She encourages me to do things I normally wouldn't do. And I'm always 99% of the time happy that I did it. And my life's more fulfilled because of it. And she's encouraging. I've gone through ups and downs in career, and she's always encouraging. So I love that about her.
Dan, what about you?
I'm sitting here, just really kind of touched. So thank you for sharing that, Dan. Well, one of the things we said about our relationship that we really love right now is that we're both open to adventure. We're both open to growth. We're not stagnating. We're, wanting to experience new things. So, I think we both are that way. And you challenge me, Dan, to do things that I probably wouldn't want to do. Like we sold our home during COVID and lived in an apartment during lockdown. And that was all about, the future and what our kind of golden years are going to look like. So preparing for that. And you encourage me to think of the future. I'm much more present-minded than kind of future-minded. So I love that about you. And I absolutely love watching you as a dad with our kids and how much our kids absolutely admire and adore you. Just really fills me up a lot. And I just think it's super hot. So that's cool too. So yeah. So, everybody loves Dan Schroeder. Mm-hmm. You really are the real deal. And I'm so appreciative of you.
I would say the same of you. Yeah. Thank you.
Dan, Diane, thank y'all. Thank you so much for being vulnerable to share your story. Mm-hmm. As I listen, I'm just getting choked up. Wait a minute. As I think about just the lifespan, I love that word, the lifespan of your relationship, the lifespan of just your love for each other, from meeting on spring break to just the ups and downs of life and motherhood and work. There's so much wealth in your story. And I know our listeners, as much as me and Kelly have been touched by it. And again, we just want to say thank you for sharing that.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. It's been a privilege.
Yeah. So listeners, you've got a chance to hear Dan and Diane. If you resonate with any parts of their story, don't forget to email us at care@adabible.org. Maybe you heard something that just hit you and you want to talk about it and you need to reach out. You can email us at the email address. And so for Together, for Dan and Kelly and Rachel, we love to hopefully help you turn into us again. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to Together. We hope you've learned a thing or two. If you find the podcast helpful, please go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your listening platform, leave a comment and give us a 5-star rating. If you'd like more information on Ada Bible Church and its ministries, or someone to pray or dialogue with about your marriage, go online and check out our website at adabible.org.